Good evening. It's Monday, April 25th. It's about 6 o'clock in the evening, and this is the Community and Economic Development Committee. I'm Jeff Schilling, the chairman, and I have Mr. Pierce and Mrs. Snee with me tonight as members, and we are first to provide a recommendation to council regarding the recommendation of the Loan Review Committee that a new loan of $150,000 be approved from the Small Business Development Revolving Loan Fund to Andy Routson and Christian Alvarez on behalf of Fermentum Enterprises LLC for funds to assist with the purchase of equipment to operate crafted and cured at 8 South Market Street. Consideration of emergency legislation is requested so that the loan can be closed without delay. Mr. Titterington, you can help us with this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a new business proposed for 8 South Market Street. The Loan Review Committee reviewed this application on April 20th and recommended that the council approve a $150,000 loan subject to the following conditions. So this project is a total cost of approximately $340,000. Our loan would be $150,000. There would be another bank loan of $150,000 and $40,000 worth of equity by the owners. The terms of our loan would be 114 months or 9.5 years. The first 6 months would be interest-only payments. The loan interest would be at 2.75, which is in keeping with our policy that council passed recently. The collateral, we would be financing the equipment purchase, and so that would be collateral as well as personal guarantees for any gap that there might be if, God forbid, it came to that point. We would provide some language that includes a clawback if the repairs and the work wasn't finished. That's just something that in the past, recently we've been doing, but in the past we had not included that, and so on advice of legal counsel, we've been including that ever since. And as you mentioned, we are asking for emergency legislation so that the equipment can be ordered as soon as possible.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Mr. Pierce?
No, sir.
Mrs. Snee?
I do not have any.
I have a question. The loans for 9.5 years, what's the, I mean, I know there's a lot of, we're buying from the list that they gave us a lot of equipment. The life expectancy on this equipment would be
It would exceed the life of the loan.
most of the equipment would last longer than the life of the loan?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions from council members out in the audience tonight? Does anybody in the audience like to comment on this? Okay, seeing nobody, what is our preferences here?
Move forward with emergency.
Move forward. We'd like to move forward with emergency then. Okay, great. Okay, number 2 on the list, provide a recommendation to council regarding a new moratorium of 60 days commencing May 15th, 2022 on the acceptance of new applications for certificates of appropriateness to allow demolitions, except immediate demolitions related to public safety concerns in the City of Troy Historic Preservation Overlay District. Consideration of emergency legislation is requested. Provide some background on that.
Sure. So back in November, council adopted the 180-day moratorium. That was based on the need or the request that we review the section of the zoning code that talked about the criteria, some of the standards related to demolitions and also alterations of structures in the downtown historic overlay district. We have been working on that. We should be submitting something to you next month at the earliest. The 180 days of the current moratorium expires May 14th, and so we're asking for another 60-day extension so that we give time for the Planning Commission to review and make recommendations to the council, and then the council act on any legislation changes that you wish to make.
Okay. Questions from the committee? Mr. Pierce?
Mr. Tindrington, if you could explain to me the need for the moratorium again?
There was a desire by the council after the tavern building to look at the standards that we have in place in the zoning code that dictate the conditions, the number of criteria that you have to meet to establish the appropriateness of demolishing a building in the overlay district. Not the DRO, but the downtown historic preservation overlay district. Lots of overlay districts, but this is the core downtown. We've been doing that. We've been doing research. We've been looking at best practices. We've been looking at other communities with historic downtowns. We've reached out to Heritage Ohio, and we are looking at various drafts to put something together to then get to the Planning Commission, which is where it would start because it is a proposed change to the zoning code. Whether or not they have a public hearing at that point, that's optional, and the Planning Commission would decide that. But then once that's done, then the council would take up the matter, and it would follow the zoning process, which would, zoning change process, which would include a public hearing. So to make sure that we have ample time to do that, and there are no other new applications that are submitted, that's why this moratorium is in place. Just kind of puts a freeze on everything for now. Does not affect anything that's in the works, that it has already been submitted, which is only the matter of the tavern building, which is also in court. But it tells us not to accept any other applications or start any kind of process with new applications until the moratorium is over.
All right.
You said you didn't have questions? I do have a question. Mr. Chitterton, would 60 days would, I don't want to rush the staff on this. I know they have a lot of other things going. Would a 90-day be better? Would that work out better than 60 days? I mean, just to have that as a, just gives you as much time as you need to do this thing?
Frankly, we think that 60 days should be enough. Now, if it's not, it can always be extended the same way. But having too much time might drag the process on, and it's already almost 180 days old.
Right.
And so we don't want to have a perpetual moratorium. And so we wanted to keep a relatively short extension of the 180 to a total of 240.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody, any council people in the audience would like to comment on this? Anybody in the audience would like to comment on this? Okay, seeing none, what's our preference here?
Move forward.
Move forward
Emergency.
with emergency? Move forward with emergency?
I really don't want to move forward with emergency, but the two of you guys will pass, it will go through anyways, right? Even if I say no for now?
You can always have a minority
Opinion.
report on that, yes.
But before we do that, may I ask your reasons? I just am curious, is it the number of days or the moratorium itself?
To further extend the moratorium, to delay the option for the public to be able to do what they feel like they need to do for the benefit of business. I would rather err on the side of caution on that. But I would just like to have more time to look at it before I answered that. I'm not necessarily 100% against it either, so.
Okay, now what we're talking about here is extending, the reason for the emergency is we want to get it done before the 15th of May.
Correct. We want it to go into effect before May 15th.
May 14th, so we don't want to have a gap in the expiration.
Because if you have a day's worth of gap, somebody submits an application on May 15th and it doesn't go into effect on the 16th, there's no moratorium, so we have to process that.
So when this thing comes through, then we are required, we just like any other zoning change, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have, it's brought before the council, we have a public hearing, goes to committee, and then we vote on it. So there's going to be at least 3 opportunities there for the public to step in and weigh in on this thing. Am I right on that?
That would make sense, yes.
So, but again, and then we're really talking May 15th, June 15th, July 15th, before any real action would have to be taken on this thing. All we're trying to do here is just that we want to have another 60 days to do exactly what you're talking about. Consider this and have any public comments would be welcome, on this moratorium, and I'd like to hear from the public on it, see what they think, and but we're still talking mid-July before this thing would go into effect. But we want to have the emergency is simply to continue the moratorium going forward and get it in as quickly as possible.
And this still goes forward with my agreement or without it, is that accurate?
It's
Well,
only
as
a
I say,
committee report to council.
There'll be there can be a committee report to council with a 2-to-1 vote. You can file if you feel that. You can also do a minority report if you feel that is justified.
Okay.
On that, so
Yeah, it would move forward. If the other 2 were in favor of it, there would be a majority recommendation, and you would be a negative vote. And if you wanted to explain yourself, then you could work with Mrs. Knight with a minority paragraph in the report.
But we'll be able to hear from the public at the city council meeting.
they have several opportunities to do that. In other words, we have, of course, before we would look at this, that any item that comes onto the agenda, city council or residents, the public, not the resident, but the public has the right 2 minutes to comment, and then anytime after we've gone through the agenda for that day, then we have open sessions, and they can talk as long as they would like at that particular point in time, and it does not have to be about an item on the agenda. So as an example, if they're concerned about this and want to talk about it at the next council meeting, they could take that time after the council meeting to comment on the moratorium, whether they want to continue it, have an indefinite moratorium, or continue it for another specific period of time longer than 60 days. I mean, they can, or any other part of that they want to comment on, they're more than welcome to do that.
Okay.
Well, and Mr. Chilling, my concern is that we originally set this moratorium for a specific purpose, to hear back from staff on recommendations to potentially amend the zoning code related to demolition applications. So if that purpose is coming to an end because staff is going to have a report, then I don't know why we would extend the moratorium beyond when we're hearing that report back, when we'll make a decision about what to do in the zoning code related to demolitions.
And I understand that. All I'm saying is that there may be members of the public that feel that we should have an indefinite moratorium. I'm not saying there's anybody out there that wants to do that, and I'm not, and that's not, you're right, that's not the objective here. But if they want to bring that subject up, you'd be more than willing to listen to them, because that's their right to comment on that.
Is an indefinite moratorium possible? I thought it had to have a time certain.
No, we would not recommend an indefinite one. That's
And
why
I
we
know that,
put-
but
we
what
put
I'm saying is,
times,
I
you
want,
keep
I want
pushing
the
it.
public to know that if, they can come in and if they want to talk about something, we're here to listen. And so if they have some ideas on moratoriums that is different than what we're considering, I don't have any problem listening to them and listening to their reasoning and take that under consideration. That's all I'm saying. So, this I think we can, I understand what we're considering here, but I'm also saying, I'm giving the public the opportunity to talk about anything they want. I mean, that's their right. So that's what I'm trying to get across to us. So let's, but that's, I think we're going to be a little bit off subject. Okay, so we have before us this recommendation, and how do we want to proceed on that?
I move forward with emergency.
Move forward, I move forward with emergency, and Mr. Pierce.
And I'll do the minority report.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you.
Okay, number 3 is provide a recommendation to council regarding accepting easements between parts in lot 9305 and 9306 on County Road 25A. This is Waco, with the Waco Airfield, to accommodate the utility and drainage requirements for any future development, and authorize Director of Public Service and Safety to sign any related documents. Consideration of emergency legislation is requested to not delay recording of the plat and any properly closings on the new lots. Mr. Tiernan.
So staff has been working with the county engineer in Waco Airfield for several months now, and what we've come to the conclusion is that the best way to handle this is with acceptance of easements, utility and drainage easements. You have a copy of the map in your packet. As you mentioned, we are asking for emergency legislations because at least one, if not multiple, of these lots are, how do you say, in play. So time is of the essence.
Comments from the committee?
No comments.
I do not have any questions.
I don't have any questions. Any members of council have any questions or like to have any input on this matter? So anybody in the public would like to make comments on this? Okay, seeing none, our preference is to move forward with emergency.
Yes, sir.
Okay, want to move forward with emergency on that.
Thank you.
Is there anything else coming before this committee tonight?
No, sir.
Then we are adjourned.